Hi, my name is Devin Doherty. I'm one of the developers for Grades HD. This presentation is designed to help you get up and running and using Grades HD as quickly as possible. As we load up the screen, you'll just see the title screen along with a support email and our website to go for more information. One of the first things we're going to want to do is take a look at the help file. Here we can see a file that talks a little bit about the history of grades, where it came about. It's very interesting. Next is the quick start. This will give you an introduction to the concepts that will be involved and how the program really works. But in order to get grades configured, first we're going to go to the configuration section and look at the GPA incentives. This program is designed to incentivize your children to work very diligently at school so that they can get good grades. So the first thing we're going to do is define how much money they can get if they get a perfect GPA. So over here on the left side we can see a list of grading scales. Our convention for naming these is we list the total numeric value, so in this case a 4.0, and then you list the grade letters that are possible. The plus indicates that we allow pluses and minuses after the grades. By default, all of the grading scales are configured to use a $10 as the maximum amount for the perfect score. You can change those at will just by clicking on it. Next up is the flat incentives. So if you wanted to skew those numbers a little bit, let's find our we'll just use the ABCDF without the pluses. So we'll go ahead and say, we're going to offer an additional $1 for every A that our kid brings home. So that's how you would do that. You just type in 1 for $1, and that's the amount that your kid would get for each A. Okay, so now that we've done that, we'll go to the GPA bonus. We'll select the ABCDF option. Now, by default, we ship the program with giving for a perfect 4.0 in this grading scale, it's $10. So if you don't want that, you can swipe your finger across and hit delete, or you can just click on it and change that number. So let's just say instead of $10, we want it to be $5. So we'll just save that here. Okay, so that's our GPA bonus. So now they'll get $10 maximum, plus if they get a perfect 4, they'll get an additional 5 for 15. Plus, we're going to give them an additional $1 for each A. Finally, we got a grade level multiplier. This system would allow us to, let's say, set a baseline at 6th grade. Maybe they would get 100%. And then at 5th grade, they'd only get 90%. And at 4th grade, they get 80%. And at 3rd grade, they get 70%. And we do this so that you can set up a grading system that will scale it down so that maybe your younger children who may not need as much money or you don't feel it's appropriate to pay them as much money, you can just scale the system down so that for different grade levels, they just get different amounts. So you can configure these however you'd like. So once you've got them kind of tuned the way you want, and you can go above 100%, for your higher grade levels if you'd like, then we'll just go ahead and go back to the main level. So now that we've configured the system, we're ready to go ahead and enter in our kids' grades and calculate their incentives. If we click enter grades, the first thing we'll have to do is create a child record. So we'll hit the plus here and we'll type in a kid's name. So we'll type in Jason here. And there is a correction there, so it does correct your typing as you go. We'll say, his birthday is February 15th or 16th, and we'll say he was born in the year 2000. So we'll go ahead and hit save, and now we have our first child. So we'll go ahead and enter in our child's information. We'll go ahead and enter in their school. We'll say he goes to Bluff Ridge, and the teacher we'll say is Mrs. Johnson. There we go. Now, the next thing that we'll want to do is set up our terms. So in this case, we have term 1, and we'll go ahead and say it's term 1 of 4. So it's for the first term of the year. And then we'll say our child's in 4th grade, and we're going to use the ABCDF grading scale. This last choice is a grades by subject. This means we want to just key in how many of each grade that they got, like they got 4 A's and 2 B's, or do we want to enter in the grades by individual subject? If we leave that off, and then we hit next here, you'll see all we're presented with is these little integer counters, and we can decide how many of each grade they got. So if they got 4 A's and 2 B's, then that would be it. That's how you enter in the grades. And then you'd hit next, and then we can see a summary. We can see their name, we can see their school, term 1 of 4. We got 4 A's and 2 B's. Total incentive is 10.53. Then we break it out. So $7.33 is from their GPA, and then they got 4 A's, so that would be $4 that they would normally have got. But both of these are modified by this grade level multiplier, 80% at this grade level. Now, if we want to save this, we just hit finish and it would save it. But we don't want to save it. We're going to go ahead and go back. We're going to go back 2 levels, and I'm going to turn on grades by subject. So after turning on grades by subject, I have to first select the subjects that the child is actually going to be taking. So here we're going to say the child took English. We'll say that the child took math, physical education, science, social studies, and technology, and hit finished. So now we've got our grades. So in order to select the grades that we would want, you just come in here and say, well, he got 4 A's and 2 B's. And now, in addition to knowing how many he got, we can keep track of what subject he got them on. If we hit next here again, we'll notice we see the same thing, except for this time that it shows us the grades that we got in the subjects, and it breaks it out and shows us the summary. One other thing I want to show you is that if we back up and we choose a different grading scale, the ABCDF plus grading scale, you'll notice it kept my classes, but this has too many options to display, and so what we're going to do is it brings it up in a pop-up view. So we'd have 4 A's, and maybe one of those was an A minus, and then 2 B's. Next. And so our numbers changed a little bit. We're actually under a different incentive. You'll notice that there's no flat incentives because we never set up flat incentives for that particular grading scale. The reason why we have all these grading scales is because a lot of times, especially if you have multiple children, many different students, depending on their school, and sometimes even grade level, maybe using a different grading system. So we tried to include the most common grading systems that are used across North America. So once we're done, all we have to do is hit finished, and it saves our grade, saves our report card. So now if we go back to the main menu, we can click on reports, click report card history, and now we can see our student, Jason. We can see the report card that he got, 4th grade, term 1 of 4. We can see the GPA that he got. If we click on it, we can see his classes, and we can see the money that he got. This would allow you, these would build up over time, and this would allow you to compare how your child is doing from term to term and see what you can do to help them improve and to keep them focused on improving their grades. So I hope you've enjoyed this quick tour of our product, and if you have any questions or feature requests, feel free to email us at support@nomoredots.com or visit us online at www.nomoredots.com. Thank you for your time.